No, I'm not a writer.
Okay.
All right, everyone. Thank you for coming. Welcome to episode 6 of the STRS podcast. Today we have at least 13 clans with us to talk about the state of the game, current clan participation, where we see World of Warships going in the future, and what it lays in store for us in the near term. And while it may be a little tedious at first, we want to make sure we get everyone who's represented here a chance to kind of talk about their clan, who they are, what their size is, and then a little bit about themselves. So with that, let's start with who's at the top there, Poseidon Syndicate. Let's go to you, Land Warrior.
How's it going? I'm Land Warrior. I'm the admiral and committee member of Poseidon Syndicate. We've got about 112 members, about 30 to 40 active so far. As far as I know, we're about a beta clan. So we've been out here a while and contributed to the community for a bunch. So.
Okay. Fifth Dimension, Mike.
Yeah, my name is Mike MJK from Fifth Dimension. We have approximately about 150 members, constant of 30 active members, pretty much every day of the week. We play every single game from War Thunder to Star Citizen. It's basically a gaming community. And we started the clan pretty much late beta, so right before open beta started.
All right. The Stig.
Yeah, this is my in-game name is he's called the Stig with Task Force 16. Right now we have about, we were at 200 at our peak. Right now we've got 55 that are active. We've been around since February 11th of the last year. We just celebrated our 1 year. As far as recruiting goes, we recruit 18 plus is really all we have, and we're semi-competitive. We've got some competitive elements, but mostly casual is what we do.
Okay. Ajax.
I'll let Mort talk. He's been in the clan longer.
Mort.
We're NAM, North American Militia. Mostly a bunch of retired military guys playing a bunch of different games. It's pretty much a gaming community. It isn't just for military, though. We do accept people that aren't military. It's pretty much kind of 18 and up. It's we keep things as PG-13 as we can, but we do 18 and up because there are some that don't exactly abide by the PG all the time. We have quite a few that play World of Warships. We have about 200, roughly about 150, 200 members in the gaming group itself. We usually have about 10 to 15 in World of Warships. We have World of Tanks clan also, and it's pretty much what we do, play games.
Okay. Hale.
Hale 20, Drive DR Gaming. About 200 strong. About from World War Thunder to World Warships.
Okay. Moving on, Cruiser Otago from Kantai Fleet Girls, right? Did I get that right?
Yes. So they're Kantai Fleet Girls. This clan was established March 11th of 2015. We are about 200 to 250 people strong. I don't really know about the active members we have. We are pretty spread out across the globe, so there's usually a bunch of people on at like around all hours. Recruitment policy, we don't really have one. It's basically just a bunch of people who have the same interests and stuff. We're all... It's a pretty anime-oriented clan, so typically people can relate to each other a lot. It's a pretty casual clan. And yeah.
All right, fair enough. And
Oh,
American
wait.
Admiralty. What's okay? You had something else to talk about?
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to mention we have a naming policy. That's it.
A naming policy. It's clear. All right, American Admiralty.
Hello, I represent Navy Gaming America. We've been around since early alpha. We have a lot of alpha testers and quite a lot of super testers. We're currently only active in World of Warships. We did have a Naval Action branch, but that kind of died off. At our peak, we probably had about 150 people. We currently have 95 on our rosters, of which probably 30 are active. Our recruiting policy is 18 or over. The only exceptions are those people who were already in the clan before that rule was made. We also require TeamSpeak, and we require that you be online at least 2 to 4 days or nights a week. And we are currently casual, but we used to be competitive, and we're hoping to go back towards a competitive style clan. We made the switch to like a social clan in an attempt to save our declining membership. We still have a small competitive division of which that's invites only, but the overwhelming majority of us now are social people.
Okay, Kid Next Door.
Hello guys, my in-game name is Kid Next Door. I'm from the OP gaming community. Our clan's about 5 months old. It was basically a lot of us who used to play ranked. We kind of got together and started a clan. And since then, we've had a lot of members that are outside of the ranked community come in here. We're about 120 members, active members in our clan. On any given night, we'll have anywhere between 30 or 40 members playing on our server. Our recruiting policy is a little extensive, but we do require you to be 18 years or older or mature. And we are a competitive clan. That's it.
Okay, Kildare.
Thank you. I am here representing TAR, the Art of Warfare. I am a field specialist. I run the competitive clan fighting force in World of Warships, but TAR's community has been around for 15 years. It's a military structure broken down from corps into divisions and battalions. Each division is a different game platform, of which there's currently 49 different game platforms. I do not know what their peak is because I've only been in the last few years within TAR, but there's currently 2,818 members across the globe. 2,735 a regular army, which means in either a division or a battalion, and then there is 94 central command support members that maintain the infrastructure and the operation of the clan. It was originally designed as a community where people, when they got a new game and they came on, and they didn't have local friends to come and play with, so they'd go in and other people would be grouping up, and they just didn't have that camaraderie to help them learn the game and things like that. And it has expanded. They're constantly opening up new divisions, which are new games. They call them spin-ups, in which case they take able commanders from within their current divisions and give them a new division. The promotion system, everything is all automated. I mean, I've ran gaming communities since the 90s, and back then we did everything on paper and pencil. If we knew someone that could do a spreadsheet, we made them a general. But this community is their website automated. I mean, Tor.net, if you guys ever get a chance to check it out, it's very, very cool the way they have everything set up, all the ward systems. As far as recruiting is open. They evaluate all members for 4 weeks. There is an age restriction and a maturity restriction, but for the most part, they kind of go through a process where they feel them out and let them feel the clan out, and after 4 weeks, if things don't work, they shake hands and part. New members are required to make at least 4 mandatories in their first month. Each division has 2 mandatory gaming nights a week, and attendance is taken. Of course, real life comes first, and they understand that, but they expect communication. The clan is largely casual. Each division has a competitive component to it, but for the most part, it's guys that are just looking for community to come play with, to experience the game and things like that. And that, I believe, is it.
Okay, thanks. Seth?
Yes, I'm here representing the Black Fleet. We are going to celebrate our 1-year anniversary on 6th. We were established from a bunch of guys who just happened to coordinate together when World of Warships opened. As for our structure, I'll start with our recruiting. Our recruiting is actually very simple to get into the fleet itself, 18. Other than that, we don't really care. Language rating, I'm probably one of the worst mouthed people in here, so I expect you to be able to tolerate that when our fleet. But aside from that, 18. Now we do have our competitive unit, and they require a lot more than just being require certain stats, certain abilities, play time with our better members. So those guys are the ones you'll see mostly in tournaments and things like that. Otherwise, they're in our protectorate, specifically designed for casual players.
Okay. Pyro?
All right, I'm Pyro, U.S. Marine in game. I'm the president and founder of Wired Gaming. We were founded on January 23rd, 2011, so we're, just over 5 years old and, pushing every day. But we're a semi-casual, semi-competitive clan because we like to have fun, crack jokes, and just, screw around until it's time for training or clan wars, and we buckle down and get serious. But we're active in several games, and we have a structure set up a lot like the Art of Warfare, like TAW. It's actually almost identical, which is kind of crazy. But as of right now, our World of Warships numbers, we're about 80-ish strong just for World of Warships. But we peaked, again, for World of Warships around 160 personnel. But due to a lack of tags and ability to train without mods, that obviously declined. But our recruiting policy is 18 and up, but we do make exceptions for those who demonstrate to us that they're mature enough to handle, how we act, because a lot of us are vets. But we also require that they have TeamSpeak, and if they don't have a working mic, that they're able to get one within 30 days of their application being accepted. And they also undergo a 2-week recruit process before they can get placed into a company. And that's it.
Okay. We're close, folks. We're close. Johnston?
All right. My name is Fog Destroyer Johnston. I'm from the Fog gaming community, which involves main Fog, FBS, and TSF. Our community was founded back during Alpha, and so you see a lot of Alpha players as well as super testers in our clan, but we also have a good amount of closed beta testers in it as well. Our clan is very active. We actually just finished switching from just a World of Warships community to actually a full gaming community where we actually are involved in many different games right now. For example, we're getting into EVE as well as other silly games, like some of us have been playing like American Truck Simulator just for the fun of it. Size, right now we're at around 220 people. Its peak was probably 300 or so people about, I think, a year ago, before some incidents happened. For recruiting policy, we usually we like to recruit people that are over the age of 18. But if they show that they're mature, we might make an exception for certain people. And then it all depends on what you decide to become in the clan, because for example, FBS is our social clan. They don't really have many requirements, while TSF and FOG are actually competitive clans. And so they have more requirements, like being on TeamSpeak more often and everything.
Okay. And finally, Sterling Archer with APOC, who starts with A but is last.
Yeah, so I'm Sterling Archer 1942 of APOC. We're about 30 people strong at any time. We got a roster's probably bigger than that, but keep about 30 active people. We play a mix of casual and competitive. So a little bit of a competitive team inside the team. We have some guys that only do casual, and then we have about a 15-man competitive side. We've been playing since closed beta on World of Warships. And as far as recruiting go, we don't have too many qualifications. We just look for people who know how to play. Like at least a tier 7, and don't be an asshole. That's pretty much it.
All right, fair enough. So I think that was a very long-winded way of getting to the point that I think we have a very clear subsection of people, a wide span of types of clans and representation here. And by my rough math, just going through that, I think at one point or another at the peak, we've represented probably about 10% of the North American server population at one point or another. And I don't know about anyone else here, but at least for us, we've also experienced the decline to the order of about 30% of what our original population was. And what I'd like to do is talk to a clan in here. If anyone in here doesn't fit the criteria of, hey, we've experienced a huge decline in participation over the last 3 to 4 months, and talk to us a little bit about why you think that is, that yours
Right
didn't
here.
fall off.
Because I got brain farted before I could tell you our numbers. Our numbers, we're sitting at over 200 in Black Fleet, and we are actually right now stronger than we've ever been. We're about to hit a year. I don't quite know what to tell you about why. Basically, guys who we send out to recruit are there because they wanted to. It's hard to distinguish like this person desires this. Well, everybody wants it, and it's our recruiting. I left it up to the people who wanted to do it.
Well, okay, so let me break in for a second. So a lot of people say, hey, we've got 200 on the roster, but if we went to your team speak right now, would we see 200 on?
No, our active meeting, we had a fleet meeting, and everybody who's active was there, and we had our team speak full, and it has 40 slots. So that's an active because in order to be an officer in my fleet, anybody you come into our team speak and you see that does not have a pro tag in front of them is an officer. If you want to be an officer, you have to be on you have to be in team speak once a week. Guaranteed. That's the activity level.
Okay.
So, our officer course sits at 30, and then we have our protector. Our protector, it's much bigger. They just have a second coming compared with our main fleet. And
Kid, okay. So, Kid, I heard you. I saw your light up. Did you have something to add?
Oh no.
Okay. Let's yield the mic and let's get another clan who hasn't experienced any fall off or decline in participation.
Kildare.
Okay.
And Mike as well.
All right, Kildare. So keep it in a specific relationship to your World of Warships community and about what you see on an average and what you kind of chalk that up to.
Absolutely. We have both an EU and an NA fleet. We're running in just our ships division about 135 active. Like I explained earlier, there are mandatory 2-night-a-week gaming nights where you have to either attend at least the mandatories or submit excuses for. So most of our membership is active. And there's always been a little bit of competition between the EU and the NA fleet as far as size goes. But like any community, as your recruiting staff excels in their job, you can see an increase of numbers. And like the Black Fleet we have as well, we have a little bit solid. We have a little more solid command staff right now in the North American fleet, and that presence has attracted a lot of people. So we're getting 8 to 10 recruits every few weeks, and it's helping our divisions grow. As far as the specifics to our ebbs and flows with recruiting as regards to what the Warships community is doing, I can't really comment. I can only say what we've seen, and most of the time that falls under our control. But we have had, we've had reductions at times, but it usually pertains to, our own effectiveness at recruiting.
May I ask, because we've noticed that we don't lose a lot of members to anything other than they just stop playing the game. Now, I know you guys are a little, we're only here, but it seems to be we lose most of our members. They fall off the game. The game's not keeping them active. I guess we're going to be leading into that, but that's what it seems to me when we lose memberships or people come in and register and kind of don't stick around. They're not sticking around in the game either.
We've experienced that as well on our end.
Yeah, same here on our end.
Somewhat my end too. Probably not that much, just through the game itself. But I have noticed a decline just because of certain aspects of the games that should be changed. Just a twitch.
So we did a couple episodes ago. We took a look at kind of the server stats, right? And so while we've noticed kind of a decline in our clan as to who comes on and participates, if you look at kind of the server number averages over the last year, there is kind of a peak around the December timeframe for us, for North America. But in the end, it's kind of stayed pretty steady. So does anyone have any opinions on what maybe the disconnect is between the server population staying fairly average right now versus the communities who are trying to establish and maintain clans kind of seeing a decline? Is it a shift to more casual because there's nothing else going on, or what?
I see more of it as a casual, but also I've been requested by a lot of my clanmates to do team battles. Now, a lot of scenarios are that the team battles, number one, they're not varying. They're staying at tier 6s. Now, I understand most of the player basis is at tier 6 from what World Gaming says, but the issue is that it doesn't motivate us to get the tier 8s or the tier 10s anymore, so the gaming community just sticks at tier 6s. And meanwhile, the rest of our guys who are getting these tier 10s, getting these tier 9s, getting these tier 8s, and working hard to bring up those captains, and now you got to drop them down to the competitiveness of tier 6, it's a little bit of a kick in the mouth, you can say, on the aspect of what the players really want. Now, I could say that it is a good thing that they do have it at tier 6s for the newer people, but at the same time, what about the people who do have the higher tiers? That's my main concern. And this is what I think is going on, is that a lot of the community is grinding all these ships out, but they have nothing to do with those ships except pub matches or random battles.
I fully agree with that. 1,000%.
If I may.
Well, hold on. So we talked, and there's loads and loads of server data that shows that the reason EU got it at tier 8 and we did not get it at tier 8 was simply the level of participation that was to be expected based on what people had. And so with that, I'd kind of like to talk to, I know OP and Kantai were very active for a little while in the team battles construct, since we're on to that. Do you still do team battles, or what was the motivation for doing it?
The motivation for...
Sorry, I was trying to talk to Cruiser Tago and...
Oh, sorry.
Well, we still occasionally, OP still occasionally plays team battles, but just to, reacquire ranks. So, the other day we played Cosby Try Osby to retake rank 3. So we keep ranks 1 through 3. But other than that, we don't really play them as much anymore because, first off, team battles, the queues are kind of broken. You'll sit in queue forever. And then second off, there's no competition. So it just kind of becomes a moot point.
So do you find yourself playing the same 2 or 3 people who just want to keep their name at the top of the list?
Well, no, because we don't play those because we are those.
Well, you are, but I mean, you play, Kantai, or who's third right now, or who are the top 3 or 4?
OP has top 3, and then
you got alternate.
I know Fog's in the top 10, but we've completely, we were in 5, but we stopped playing because the queue times were just way too long, and we just didn't find it fun anymore.
Verm, I think you touched on the heart of it. The participation. Um, they're going to keep us in tier sixes because, as it is, they're having trouble filling queue times. They have to narrow the team battle windows. And yes, these guys all brought up valid points about the fact that the low tiers is taking participation away from the team battles, but it's the community itself that feeds the team battles. And if they're not feeding the team battles, you're going to have the inability to go to higher tiers and things like that. And it's possibly along those lines, the e-community being more active and having more people, they probably can sustain a stronger team environment. But remember, if you compare these to the tanks community and other gaming platforms, I mean, Ships is a baby.
Another thing about having team battles at tier 6 is the meta, the strategies or whatever are actually pretty limited. As far as like OP gaming is concerned, there's pretty much only one build of ships that we bring for team battles. However, if team battles are a tier 8, there are like at least 2 or 3 different ship builds that we could bring, which would make it interesting, keep people wanting to play team battles longer.
There's a bunch of complaints my guys have. They still go in, but the wait time, I mean, after 30 minutes of sitting there doing absolutely nothing, I don't have 30 minutes to sit there and wait for a match at all, especially when there's showing 4 teams in queue.
I've actually had at one point with my guys, we actually had 10 teams in queue, and we were waiting for 15 minutes with 10 teams in queue and something like 22 mercenaries. It was something ridiculous like that, and I'm not sure if it's broken as in terms of it goes by rank in team battles, but
Yeah, we've had similar issues to that, and then when we do get into a match, it's with Echo League, and you don't learn anything from Echo League. You learn from equal or better games. Well, if we're not going to learn anything, why bother?
I'm sorry to cut in. I'm Kari Zukaku, which is not an officer in Kantai, but basically more playing Warship player in the Kantai clan. I'll say 2 points about why Kantai just stopped playing team battles after like a week when team battles out. First, we think tier 6 isn't captivating enough because ships are too one-sided. Like, yeah, ships, New Mexico, Fuso, which like hits people shit hard and tanky. And Cleveland, which the old Cleveland sets people on fire like crazy, and basically Mooski is still shit. The ships are way too one-sided, so it leads to our members aren't really like having the motivation to play it. And most of our more competitive players in the clan also think that, tier 6 isn't really a good tier for team battles at all. You don't have the variety to choose ships. It's either New Mexico or Fuso. And then cruisers, Cleveland's, destroyers, Farragut, or maybe Anshan for the newer version, but we don't know because we aren't currently playing team battles at all, since the queue time is such long for once. And that's all how we think as well.
Let me throw the 2 things. I'll start with kind of a statement that I think sums up what everyone's describing, which is they originally put it down to tier 6 because of participation, but because it's tier 6, the ones who were willing to participate have mostly lost interest, and so it kind of worked in reverse, and that maybe if it'd gone to tier 8, even though it was a smaller subset of the North American server, that maybe it would have had more continuous and more population. I think
There's more fun ships.
Yeah, and I think another part of that was the way it was rolled out too. I mean, the ladder wasn't established on day 1, and the rewards weren't equitable to what you would get into a ranked, right? Or not ranked,
there are
but
no rewards.
Random. Right. So it's not an equitable incentive. So that's 1. And 2, those people who are really interested in participating in team battles, did you think about trying to go to the EU server to do those at tier 8? I know it requires a grind, but I'm just curious.
I've had actually 4 of my members. We started going on the EU account about 2 months, the EU side, about 2 months ago, and started recruiting there. The EU guys have surpassed us in team battles and constantly doing team battles They do it every 3 nights, literally. So they're doing it almost twice a week, and we're barely doing it once a month now because the team battles are just in tier 6s, and there's no variety, like they say. Now, if they were to do something like a different system, let's say, you have, let's say, once you get to Bravo League, you get to tier 8 team battles instead of staying at tier 6s, or you start off at tier 6, you work yourself up to tier 8s. That would work out as well. But sticking at tier 6s, it kind of dulls out the people who do want to participate so much.
So I kind of get the feeling they're going to let it ride until rank comes out. I think, I don't know, Spectre, did you see something about when the next rank season was going to come out?
I have not, although there was an interesting post on the Russian forums today that basically said that next season of rank battles are going to be tiers 5, 6, and 7, and to ultimately reach your tier rank 1, you'll need a tier 10 ship. But a lot of this is rumor, and I haven't really confirmed it or backed it up myself, so not sure.
Fair enough. So
ranked battles are so They need to fix that. We had one guy. He has a 40% win rate. Can't barely carry himself in team battles. He got rank 1 in the ranked battle. And I asked him, "How did you do that?" He said, "Oh, after about 200 games, eventually my team carried me there." And it's like, wait a second. How's it ranked then? If you acknowledge you suck, I mean, you're horrible, and you said just as long as I take enough matches, it will carry me up there.
So I don't know how you would fix that, but I know one of the fixes we talked and discussed with them previously was if you do really well on the losing team, about not losing stars or ranks, and I think that's one of the possibilities for the upcoming season. But I don't know how you'd automate out. I mean, we can't even get rid of bots right now, right? So how do you regulate that? I'm not sure you can.
I like that where they don't take away the stuff, because you got the guy who, well, I killed 6 on the enemy team, but I just couldn't kill that last guy. My entire team got chewed up, but why am I getting penalized because they couldn't help me? That I think would be a much better. But anyway, sorry.
So there's a lot of clans in here, and hey Sterling, how many total signed up for this season of Supremacy League?
We're down to 10 teams, and there's 450 people rostered. I did a calculation for Q the other night. I think we got about 160 people that are playing actively across those 10 teams.
And,
so, I mean, it's a pretty darn good number for this server.
Out of those 10 teams, how many are in here right now, would you say?
Probably like 80% of them. TSF isn't here off the top of my head, and that might be it.
Out of curiosity, so a lot of us have mentioned that tier 6s, aren't particularly enticing, and for a lot of people who spent time to grind up to tier 8s, on the way to 10s, whatever, it felt like it was a kick in the teeth. From like a game design standpoint, what do you guys think Wargaming could do to say tier 6 ships that make them more enticing?
Sorry, Mike. Go ahead, Mike.
I personally think they got to bring out some sort of award system. I mean, you get into a ranked battle, you win the battle, or you get to a Charlie League, and what do you get? You just get a rank.
I think the maps at tier 6 are very interesting. I think, like, if you look at the tier 8 maps or the tier 10 maps, they're generally larger, so that lends itself to like more spread out gameplay. But at tier 6, when you take Fault Line, maps like that, all the action is just taking place basically in the middle. There's not much taking place on the flanks. So that might be a possible fix for tier 6 if they come up with new maps.
What would be the difficulty for Wargaming? I'm going to get a lot of backlash from this. Randomizing the map. Because as long as you keep setting these maps, basically they're all the same. They just have a couple different islands here and there. The strategy is always the same, for the most part, aside from a couple different islands here and there. And the reason I say a randomized map is basically you it's going to spawn at one of 9 spots, but it randomizes it so that we don't have this.
So let me ask what you mean by random. You mean spawn points, different
seeding,
areas?
Yeah, maybe like almost mountains can appear here, here, and here, and here and here for this different code, and just randomly seed one, and that way we have a different layout. It's not a constant. Well, we're going to go down this side because that's the way we've always played this map. It would be what are they gonna do to us this map? What kind of adjustment are we going to have? I mean, they could even try that in your ranked matches to give the better players a shot at it and then carry it over to the less skilled group. But I don't know. For me, the maps are just stale.
So just to
Constantly
clarify,
the same thing.
Just to clarify, you would want the map terrain itself to vary within like a map. Like instead of say having those big islands around sea on fault line, they would be arranged differently, or
Yeah. So, like, we'll start with an ocean. Basically, the system goes, all right. We've got our teams, we have our map, and we're gonna either throw in islands or we're not. That's the first random roll. Okay, well, no islands. All right, well, that means it's an ocean, so we don't have to go any further. And we'll maybe put that at 10% of the time, and 90% of the time, no, it's going to roll islands. Okay, now it says islands. Okay, well, between 10 and 15 of medium-sized islands, and we're going to throw them in the map at different coordinates. And 1 of 9 spots is where the 1 to 3 spawn points are going to be, or not spawn points, capture points, and it makes it different. So you never get basically we're all going to go on this side. We're all going to run the exact same idea, and it's whoever the action always is in this one spot on this one map.
Well, let me reframe the question maybe here. And
Okay.
Let's hear from if you're super competitive at team battle type stuff, or even from a super competitive aspect, would you want a dynamic map? And let's use the weather for instance, and say you're at tier 8 where you've got a couple different ways you can kind of crack that battle. Would you want a randomization in the battle at a competitive thing that could completely throw off what you've trained and planned out? Or do you want a consistent, I know what I'm going into type battle so that you can arrange your ships and your strategy accordingly?
Well, for us here at Fog, what he was saying, I was listening, and it would take so much map balancing. How does one guarantee that one side does not have a clear advantage? Like, it's just probably impossible. I would rather just at that point have cookie cutter maps that are already preset, and then you never know what ship is going to be around the corner. So the strategies are endless. It just depends on the ships that the enemy brings.
I agree with that. I think standard maps, although more of them, and maybe more designed for competitive play, scale size for the higher tiers. But as far as not knowing what you're going into, I wouldn't think that would help matters. And we still run team battles every night. We have groups going in.
For the ranked, if you're going to put my skill against your skill, and basically if we have, like I said, it's probably going to go nowhere, and I am going to get some backlash. But if you and I have 2 maps or a map, and basically we're going to sit there and we're going to figure it out. We're going to pre-plan, and that's great. But what about the skill of being able to adapt to? Okay, we're in this map, and for me, that's part of the competition because I can study a map, and I'm going to come up with my strategy, and let's all face it, the plan, the first thing in battle, to go out the window is the plan. So saying, well, I want to plan for a map, it's like, well, it's a million different options.
Again, at least for me, yes, you can study a map, but map balancing is number 1 in my book, and number 2, it's just the randomization comes from the enemy ships that spawn. Now, for example, in WGLNA, for North America, they don't show the ship, or for tanks, I mean, my mistake. In tanks, they don't show the tanks that the enemies bring in. that's unknown until you actually spot the enemy. So I think once they actually come into a competitive idea, that's going to help out, because I might be in, let's say, my Benson. I don't know what's going to be on the other side of that map because I have no idea what enemy ships there are on the other side.
So would people in here be totally against, say, implementing dynamic weather on a known map, even though it has significant penalties for visibility?
Dynamic weather is kind of fun in randoms, but in competitive, I think if you bring in, it's more likely about how your ability to adapt it. Like, oh, you know the cyclone is coming in 20 seconds, so your team needs to position yourself as good as to ambush the enemy team, because 8 kilometers is not a long range. So I'm not against it. I'm pretty pushing, like, oh, try to bring it in. It might be another like chance meta to the team who's losing.
I like how you frame that, to the team that's losing. All right.
Well, I mean, giving chances to come back is always a thing. Like, gaming is all about. I think competitive gaming is all about how you make your advantage and not do mistakes. That's all. More like that. Not keeping advantage is the first thing. Not doing mistakes is the first thing. Like, if you do a mistake in broadside in a Otago against something like a Montana, you get blasted. So how do you ensure not to do it is the point. Same as team battle, it's just from 1-1 to like 9-9 or 7-7.
So if you would say you are in favor or opposed to implementing dynamic weather or something else similar to that in a competitive match?
I would be against if it's on randoms, but in like team battle or rank battles, I'll be pushing it for sure. Like, do it.
Yeah, because I would agree to that too, because then your strategy completely adjusts. And that's the whole fun about it, is when your strategy needs to adjust. And they can do so much with this game. I mean, you're talking about oceans here. Think about it for a second. You got storms, you got everything. You can make a tidal wave that'll damage destroyers, and if it's a broadside or something on the ocean map. So much you can do with this game. Now, I love the thing that they did with North. I gotta give them total credit, where it brings you down to 8K visual range. That just blows my mind completely. It completely changes battleship tactics, destroyer tactics, cruiser tactics. It just takes it and puts it in a full 360, a full 180. And that's a lot of fun, is that when you have to readjust yourself, you gotta basically say to yourself, okay, where's my team? What do I gotta do now? Now I gotta remember where the other team is too at the same time. So it changes everything a little bit around, and it mixes things up a little bit. Now, do I agree with it on every single map? Not really. I do believe it should be only certain maps.
Would anyone be opposed to seeing dynamic weather in ranked battles?
No.
I oppose that. I don't think so. I disagree with that.
Yeah, so
Well,
do I.
given the luck I have in ranked battles, it wouldn't bother me at all.
Sorry, was that kid that said you're opposed to it too?
Yeah, another factor with the dynamic weather is it comes in at a random time, and I've never been able to figure out how long it lasts, because I've had games where it lasted about 4 minutes, and then I've had games where it lasted like 8 minutes.
Yeah,
And
it lasts between 2 and 10 minutes, is what it said.
Yeah, I think that's just way too much variation. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. I think it's actually great, because if you think about it, when if anybody's ever been at sea for a bit, the weather it changes instantly. You have almost no preparation for it, and you have one choice, and that's ride it out, however long it takes. Gotta deal with it. And okay, even if we're not randomizing the map, because we could go, okay, well, we're in the 21st century, we have satellites, we know what every battlefield on this planet's ever going to look like. So, but the weather, that is an unpredictable factor. Some rough seas will throw off your gunnery. Where you can't see the enemy. As good as our technology is, Mother Nature doesn't care.
I mean, on the short list of things that we'd want improved or implemented, I think stuff like that is like a far 2025, like 4 years from now type stuff. But
I want fleets and put in first.
Yeah, let me ask you this, kid, since I've seen you in ranked a lot, and it's just easy for me to ask you, right? So, what would the strategy would the meta truly change knowing you had whether or not have weather? I mean, if we get really down to it and we ask ourselves the hard questions, would people really change the strategy to account for that?
I don't think they would change their strategy as much as they would have to develop a style of reaction. Like, hey, if we're in a match and such happens, do everything you can to get, X amount of kilometers within each other or something along those lines.
It all depends on what's actually changing. Because if, let's say, you got rush seas, rush visibility, or bad visibility, a rush might actually work.
It also might let, for example, the New Orleans and then the Chapayev actually have jobs. They have radar. They might be able to see through the weather.
Yeah, that is true. Radar is certain use now.
And weather reports. Gonna get weather reports?
What, besides the in-game queue? No, I don't think so. Wait, check the website while you're loading in. You can always do that. So let me shift gears a little bit here. And before we move on to streaming battles and kind of the competitive thing, because I know there's been a little bit of controversy over that. Has anyone here lost a significant amount of their population to the EU in the interim? And down the road, if you could advocate, would anyone be opposed to merging the two servers essentially?
I would be opposed to merging the two servers just because of lag. The lag would be terrible.
So let me address that. So I made an EU account. I went over there and played on the EU just to check the lag because me and Spectre were arguing about how much that would be. And honestly, I was getting 100 milliseconds. And maybe in a destroyer at the wrong moment, that's going to matter. But in most of the other ships, I find that hasn't really been an impact. So I've heard that argument before. I just haven't been able to see the root cause of it.
I think it depends on, one, where you live, and B, how good your internet is. For example, I'm on the West Coast here, so beautiful California, but luckily I have 200 megabyte a second internet, so I can probably play. But how about the people that are on the West Coast that have maybe like 50 or something lower? Like, that's where I see the player base being affected.
Anywhere here, West Coast, anyone here try to log on EU and check it? And bandwidth, like pipe
I get
doesn't
severe
affect
packet
like
loss.
ping. You tried to log on to the EU?
Yeah, I get severe packet loss on it.
Okay. I mean, I know we have Crazy Cole here who gets packet loss in the States, so I'm not sure if that's a function of distance or not, but okay, fair enough. Anyone else be opposed to merging the two servers?
Yes, I would be actually. I'm on the East Coast, but I have an EU account as well. It's just a massive amount of lag, and I have several guys who are on the EU who play on the NA, and they still have a massive amount of lag as well. So it's pretty difficult on them. But as in terms of the player bases, I think it would be a lot of fun, but they have to fix the lag issues in a lot of ways.
Would we get the same deals they do?
That would be nice.
So they
very nice.
You're talking about the premium ship stuff or the in-game reward stuff?
Everything.
Because
everything. Check all the above. Basically, it feels like we are an afterthought on the NA.
Well, I mean, we get the patches first, right? And I think the in-game rewards we get are higher. Now, the premium ship release stuff is certainly different, and the team battles is different, but we've had a lot of EU players come over and play with us just to check it out, and their impression is the opposite, right? Outside the premium ship buy stuff.
Grass is greener type thing.
Yeah, grass is always greener.
I mean, obviously, if they fix the lag issue, I don't think a lot of people would be opposed to that idea.
I agree.
I just think it was an interesting idea as far as the player base goes. I mean, you go from 10 to 30, right?
No, I think it's a great idea, but I just don't see them overcoming the lag issue anytime soon.
We'll put the server in Iceland. We'll call it even.
I could put the server in Iceland and call it EVE Online.
Say that's even for Canadians.
Yeah, we'll give the Canadians a leg up. How about that? All right, so let's move on to
I'm
some
Canadian. I don't need that problem.
You don't want the welfare? All right, that's cool.
No, it's okay.
All right, so let's move on to a streaming topic, really. And this comes in for the competitions, and I'd like to see what people's take on streaming and posting the videos of the battles is, and I'd like to hear from somebody who's opposed to doing that first.
For opposing, like, we oppose it if the mini map is shown, because it reveals all the locations of our allied team. Like, if that was covered, I think I would be I would allow it. But if because of that reason, like, they could then see like a destroyer that's trying to sneak up behind them or something. But yeah, that's my at least 2 cents on that.
Well, we're not talking real time. I don't think anything. I mean, as far as
I would agree. We do stream our stuff, but it's always on a minute delay or something like that, and it doesn't really bother me there. And I can understand even longer times for certain strategies, but he means like recording and then posting it after, like Waston does.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, I thought you meant like live streaming. My bad.
Well, I mean, live streaming, but with a what's an acceptable delay for you to say, hey, I want to live stream, or we want to broadcast it for a population? What's acceptable?
It depends.
I would say
Usually
10
it's
minutes.
about 5 minutes to 10 minutes.
Yes,
I agree
if
with
it
that.
were that much time, damn right. But anything less than that, no, it could ruin your destroyer's sneak attack, because even a minute, you're never going to get around where you need to be.
Does anyone have any different issue with streaming other than the real time, near time issues as far as strategy or how you lay your fleet out or anything like that?
We have a lot of streamers in OP, and we've had this discussion several times. And I guess what we finally came down to is okay if you can stream like competitive stuff, obviously with a long delay, but you can't save the recordings or post the recordings. We just don't want to give out like strats or stuff we're working on. We want to keep it internal.
So how do you mitigate that need or desire with the opposing team streaming and keeping the recording? And at some point they're going to see everything, right?
Well, we don't want it recorded and out there from our viewpoint. We don't care about the enemy's viewpoint. It's ours that matters to us.
Okay. And is that a function of, do you think the meta would significantly change, or the strategies are so vastly different that it's not fairly common, or what drives that?
I mean, everything. Like, our strategies are like an evolving process, so it's just constantly trying to build on it, and if we get countered, then continue to build on it. But we don't have to develop a new strategy every week that'll, someone else can watch it and then counter it immediately.
Okay, so somebody streaming from the opposing team, you guys have no issues with then? Okay.
No, because they won't see everything.
What about Kantai? How do you guys feel about the streaming from your perspective?
To be honest, we don't really care about if enemy or us ourselves stream, as long as if we stream, we are only keeping record of our games and just like reviewing tactic and stuff. We're actually like pretty in favor of having a live streamer like Majash or anyone else that's in our team, because like having a narrator to like stream a match is another thing that's pretty fun to watch, and it makes more fun to the audiences as well. I mean, also to both teams, they can watch the stream and do their strategy thing as well. So overall, I think I'm in favor to it, but the bad thing is if you're gonna leak your stream out and the NT knows that you have a stream, they can look at it, so probably need to do your own preventing things for this. More like security issues.
But you would have no problem having it recorded and then posted later?
As long as both team approves that, well, your team approves that you can post the stream in. Like, of course, if it's a live streamer that views from both team angles, I'm fine with that, because like, yeah, you see it anyways. But like how Falk Johnson said, as long as the minimap is covered, we are fine with that.
Okay, that's an interesting take. Minimap covered, check. Anybody else have any comments for streaming or not streaming versus sharing or viewing tactics?
I personally believe in that the minimap should be covered, and if somebody wants to post a video of their own team doing pretty well online, as long as the minimap's covered to not be what you may call it, not be a team player, and post the opponent's strategy, I think that's wrong. But you can keep the replay for yourselves to review for future strategies against that team. That I do agree upon, but it should not be posted, let's say, on YouTube with full minimap and everything going, and that should not happen.
All right. Well, let's move on to everyone always talks about they want clan tags, clan tags, clan tags. So there's kind of two parts to that, right? One, I get the tag and I can identify with myself. And then the other part is getting into the community warfare aspect. And I think we all know that that's way down the line. But would anyone settle for clan tags in the interim? And do you truly think it would matter, at least near term, after the initial, oh, that's neat and I can identify myself? Would it really enable participation until community warfare came out?
Yes.
I think yes,
yes.
it would.
Yes, it is. Yes, that's something we've gone over in Wired Gaming a lot because we've actually had people that say, hey, man, like I get we have a channel, but I just don't really feel like I belong to anything. I'll come back when they get something, more Clan Wars oriented, and they're like, whether it's just a tag or like a permanent channel that we, have like on World of Tanks, because we have a channel and it stays up 24/7, but it's still not quite the same, and they like to be able to take some pride and say, hey, look, I belong to these guys, and that's what a lot of it is. That's the whole point of a clan, in all honesty. While it may be competitive, it's about feeling like you belong somewhere.
And our guys, it for us, it's actually a badge of honor. We're gonna have two clans set if they were to merge them. If not, I guess we'll redo them here. But for us, if you're going to be in the actual Black Fleet and not just our protectorate, you're going to have a different tag. And we want people to ask about it. We want people to ask, well, how'd you get that? Well, number one, I have excellent stats. I've proven myself in battle over X amount of battles, and I've fought with the team, and I've worked my way up. That's how I got this one, and it's different than this one. I want people to ask, because for us, it's a recruiting tool.
Personally, I'm okay with tags as long as they can be taken on and taken off. There's times, frankly, I go on where I don't want to be representing my clan, if you get what I mean.
I get that same way.
For me, I just don't think clan tags would matter at this point.
Yeah, I'm kind of along that same vein. I think there'd be a near term 1 week, hey, that's interesting and all, and that's cool. But again, with nothing in the future to put it against other than say a random battle, I'm not sure it's a significant bump. But does anybody else out there feel the same way?
I feel that clan tags, like they said, it makes them represent something. So for some players, it would be something really new. Now, what they should do, on a personal, I hope they don't rant to me again. Hope I'm not ranting about this, but what they really should do is try to bring the aspect of clans to the game, but with some sort of clan reward system. That's what's really needed. Like, let's say a clan does, let's say, best of the month or something. Your clan needs over 1,000 kills or something ridiculous like that, and you reward the clans who get it. You know what I mean? That's gonna give a reward sense towards the game, and people are actually gonna want to play more and want to belong to clans and gonna want to be competitive. It's just gonna push the game further, I find, if you just develop a little bit more with it. I know they have the team battles. Not much awards are with it right now, but if you put, let's say, the combination of team battles with a reward system with clans, that would just make this game fly up with its community and with its competitiveness.
Let me ask the question this way: if you could pick one or the other, tier 8 team battles or clan tags with no community warfare, which one would you pick?
Tier 8 team battles. I won't even hesitate.
Tier 8.
Tier 8.
We would take tier 8.
Tier 8. I think with that choice, most people would take the tier 8 because the tags are limiting.
I think here's what we're running into, just an overall view of everything we've talked about. I would be willing to bet that 90% of the clan leaders here are from World of Tanks or have had dealings with wargaming or World of Warships.
Well, let's find out. Who here is not from World of Tanks.
APOC.
I'm not here from Kildare.
I'm not. No,
I'm
never
not.
played it.
What defines
Yep,
not
and I'm-
being
Really?
from?
Wow.
And I think that's kind of like a large portion, just a swag, right? Not
Well,
really from the World of Tanks community.
Here's what I'm seeing, and that's the reason I made that assumption, is everybody here who wants something, it's exactly what they have in World of Tanks. And we want the clan warfare that they have. We want, their team. We basically want strongholds. If you think about it, that's what ranked battles kind of are.
Yeah, but
obviously there are some differences. But what I'm saying, the reason I say that is we've built up an expectation that Wargaming has had this.
But
Now
I
they
think part
put
of
out
that's
a new game and it's
perspective,
like,
right? I think
well,
part of that
yes.
is perspective, because this is like what, less than a year old maybe, and that's 5 years old. And I went back and did a little digging just because I was curious. I never played World of Tanks, but it's a perpetual beta type cycle, and people look back on that model and think of it with nostalgia, but it took a long time to get to where it is now. And so this is going to take a long time. And so when we talk about kind of what we want, I think it's better to look the near to mid-term range, because we know that stuff is coming. It's going to take time. And I don't think anything we're going to do is truly going to speed that up. It's the little incremental steps along the way. And if we prioritize, hey, this is what we really want, because it's really going to have an impact on more people playing, and more people playing means more fun, more community type stuff, and more incentive, and not getting burnt out and leaving and getting high turnover, then I think that's a better approach than saying, hey, I want the World of Tanks model right now, when we know it's going to take 4 years to get there.
Verm, if I may add on to that. We've been talking about a lot of different things, and it almost sounds like we're trying to talk to the developers. The truth of the matter is this is a cash cow for them, and the money is in players that are not in team leagues. If we push them to create a reward system that rewards players, and I know it could be easily argued the other way, that this would drive more people to play more and push more and play higher tiers, but it's also going to wipe out a lot of the people that are coming in and trying to just play. I mean, they're already getting farmed down in the lower tiers. New guys coming in and they're getting wasted, and the guys that are coming in now, and it'll just get worse. But to add on to your comment before about, this being in its infancy, and I made a little comment to it earlier, and, we have history. We've built communities before. This can move forward. We can move forward with what we want, and it's us that's going to do it. We could have tier 8 team battles anytime we want. We have 15 clans here. We should have a roster set up, every commander. We should have communication between us. And if the Supremacy League is what we have right now, and they've been working hard. I mean, the stuff that they have coming up for the next season is leaps and bounds what it's going to be for this season, what it was for this season. Why not use that platform to create our own? We could have tier 8 battles. We could have, if we all have 2 or 3 teams that are on 2 or 3 nights a week, then all we need is to coordinate the system. And I was speaking with Vaz the other night, or not Vaz, Spectre maybe it was, I forget, there's so many of you guys over there. Maybe not Spectre. Anyway, forgive my age, I can't remember the names. But they're already talking about during the break between seasons, they have some fun stuff planned. I think
that was me, actually.
I think that's what we should, I think talking to those guys and us putting all our heads together and getting together on what we could do, we can move ahead of what they have planned, and maybe in that way push them when they see this community grow.
They have done that with the Supremacy League, but the reason my fleet pulled out, it was because the members don't want to do that. They have no problem doing matches, none at all. In fact, they want to, but they also want, because a lot of them are still working on their ships. They need the money. They need all this. And a lot of my good players, they have a certain window of time they can play. So when they do that, they want it to be profitable in most ways possible.
Forgive me, Seth, and I have to jump back at the discussion with you, because I just want to address this. I appreciate your input, and you've had a lot of input, almost commenting on every section that we've talked about, but sometimes you take us off tangent, I'm not talking about what our members might be interested. I'm talking about us right here, 15 clans worth of captains that have the ability to create a tier 8 playing ground. I could put together a tier 8 team 2 nights a week. If there's 15 guys that want to post their email address to private me right now, within the next 3 weeks, we could have tier 8 matches going 2 nights a week. That's what I'm talking about.
Hold on.
You're right. We are here, but we are representing every one of our members. So my members are what I care about right here. Because if I'm not making it better for my members, then I have no purpose in being here. Number one, and number two, if my members, this is why they told me to pull out of the Supremacy League. I could not get enough for even 2 hours once a week because they do not want to give up the ability to move forward in this game and
Okay, so I think
skill the stuff out.
I think what the fundamental difference we're describing is one, some of us want to continue to build and do our own like a competitive way forward, and then some people have a criteria that I want to do competitive stuff, but it needs to be tied to in-game reward type stuff as well, right? But Spectre, I think you had a comment.
I just think it's important to keep in mind that, yes, as a community, we can do all these things, and I think it's really great that the community can band together and say, hey, wargaming isn't giving us tier 18 battles, so we will sort of come up with our own. But on the other hand, I think we do need to recognize, a lot of our players, they are still working up tree lines. They are still looking for, rewards that only wargaming can provide, really, on a consistent basis. And I just feel like, even though we're only clan leaders, there's no representatives from wargaming, I would like to think at least that maybe some of the points that topics that we bring up spur discussion that eventually does grab their attention. That it brings into the spotlight what it is that we want. And as it was Seth brought up, we are speaking for our clan members here, and our members are drawn from the community, so there's a lot of overlap of what the community wants and what clan members want.
I just wasn't referring to in-game rewards. I spend a lot of time grinding my ships. We all do, all our clan members do, but I thought we were talking about team play, not necessarily the Verm pointed out. And obviously Seth was directing his attention to, which is the rewards that come from their team battles.
Yeah, I think it's a mix of both, right? I think there are people who want both things or want one thing, or in the end it all comes down to a fundamental drive and need to have something that keeps you interested in the game without getting burnt out, where you feel like you're progressing. And that can take on a lot of different things. It can be belonging to community ladders, community battles that have prizes. I would have liked to have seen the SG thing this weekend kind of go a little better, or continue some format like that, where if there's like a doubloon rewards type thing going on, or any of those things really.
Can I have a little bit of a input on this one? Now, you were saying that we were trying to grind, right? And that you can only get certain things in either pub matches or in team battles that Wargaming gives. And then after that, we have also the time zone issues, as well as players not being able to come in. I have the same issues sometimes, even within my clan, where we sometimes have to literally try to find the members who can play at certain times. Like, I have one of my officers who can't play on the weekends because he has work then. Real life comes before, obviously, a game. But meanwhile, we have our members who can only play on the weekdays, and some can only play on the weekends. I understand this concept, but also at the same time, some players are trying to grind up the tech tree. So now we have the issue of players trying to grind up the tech tree, get up to the higher tiers to play higher tiers, and then you have the issue of what they can and cannot play. Now, like I was saying before, you can still implement the team battles, but at the same time, try to cater to both parties, as in terms of not only reward systems, but as well as tiers. So let's say 1 week or 1 month you do tier 6s, and we do the dynamic battles that we have been doing for tier 6s. It caters to the lower tier players. It caters to the community who really wants it. But then after that, you cater slightly to, let's say, the next after that month, you do, let's say, 2 weeks of tier 18 battles, where the clans could get involved, the clans could get serious, and the clans could really have some fun of what they've been looking forward to. And you put up an award system for that as well. So you're not only catering to your community, but you're also catering to the guys who really want to take it seriously to the higher and to the next level. And that's what I'm sort of wanting for Wargaming to put in, is to have an award system for not only just team battles, but the award system for people who are trying to push for this, to try to bring up their player bases, to bring in the new players, and also reward the higher players. Because I've had like 3-4 of my guys that have left just because the game isn't at tier 8s yet, and they have tier 10s. And that's very disappointing to see people quit just because there's no higher tier battles in the game.
Hey,
So
let me ask Frat. I'll just pick a name here, right? Are you here?
Yeah.
All right. So what is the driving factor that keeps your team playing in its current state? And where's the point where you would say, hey, I'm done. We're going to call a break until something else comes in?
For team battles?
No, just as a clan trying to compete in World of Warships. At what point does it become, this was interesting, we're all going to move on to other games until something changes?
Competitively, I guess until there's no more competition. I mean, we play to drive ourselves to play our best, to get better, to improve. It's all about improvement. And at the point where you cannot possibly improve, or there's no incentive to improve, then we, I guess, lose interest. Such as like team battles. There's no one to compete with, so we kind of stop playing it.
Okay, so say when Supremacy League ends and there's no other competition, ranked battles doesn't come out, is that it for you guys?
Well, we're probably gonna try to coordinate with other clans to have like skirmish matches and such. But right now, our really big clan-based thing is Supremacy. I mean, there's nothing else out there.
What about you, Johnston?
I'm actually on the same page. Like, Supremacy is the only thing that actually keeps us in World of Warships. Team Battles doesn't, like, to be completely honest, like, me, I've been here since closed beta. I've kind of lost interest in World of Warships because there is nothing really to do. Like, I've been playing other games like EVE and learning other games because World of Warships hasn't been as fun for me because I feel like I've learned what I can, but either A, it's hard to find people to play against, or I just mop the floor of noobs at like tier 8 or something.
You hear that, Sterling? So when the playoffs end, you guys got to be ready to go live with Season 3.
There you
Actually,
go.
If you don't mind stepping in, the plan is Season 3 is going to start probably September, but in the meantime, we're going to run a summer session. It's going to be much more chill. It's going to be basically all exhibition, but I'm going to run different scenarios, different tiers, different rule sets every week. So whoever wants to play can come on. No pressure. I might set a schedule if people are interested in that. If people don't want to schedule, then we'll just play whoever's there for the week. But I will keep stuff going for the summer because, as Frat said, it's about the only thing keeping me going in this game right now.
Well, I mean,
Can
what's
I
the
jump in
form?
here?
Go for it, Lan.
I haven't really said anything, but as for the Supremacy League and stuff for the tier 8 battles, keeping our players interested, couldn't we set up like a pot for us to dump, some money in or donate money or whatever to like incentivize it? Like the winning team gets, so many doubloons and such, or those flag packs out and things like that.
Are you trying to start a World of Warships DraftKings Landware?
Yeah.
In Wired Gaming, we've considered doing something very similar to that. Putting in money, everybody pulls it in, and the company, because we have the World of Warships division underneath the whole clan, and then there's companies broken down into that, and we've wanted to come up with an idea, maybe between companies and stuff until Wargaming can figure out what they're going to do or when they're going to do it, I should say, and the winner gets It gets divvied up amongst the people in that company that participated. And the more trainings you attended, if you were in the battle and say you didn't make all of them, all the training events, you wouldn't get as much as somebody who did, you know.
I think I'd be for in-game currency wagers, not doubloons, because then you get into all sorts of law, right? But at least credits, that would be interesting.
We've found success with that in our members donate to a pool. It's how we keep everything going, and we have contests constantly, like Wargaming would hold for themselves, and it actually seems to get a lot of interest from our guys. And it's simple little rewards because we're not rich, but for Christmas we made everybody collect name of our Merry Christmas in the first name of things killed. I gave them wild cards because of some hard letters, and to my wife. So Merry Christmas, Aries. And anybody who did that got put in a drawing, and we gave away ships. And I had so many people competing, and there were only 3 prizes, or 3 major prizes, and then there were 3 captain's passes, weekends captain's passes. And almost every single one of my guys participated. I don't know how we could do it on a larger scale, but I think it would help.
All right, so I think we're kind of coming close to wrapping up everything we kind of had on the menu to talk about. And if there's anything that's totally separate or that we missed that anybody would like to bring up for discussion, we're willing to take that on. But again, if it's only something that we haven't already kind of touched upon. So we'll kind of go down the list. Anybody got anything?
I got one thing, and I might catch flack, like everyone. The thing that stopped me playing the game recently, I'm up to, I think, 9 tier 10s or something like that, and every time a patch comes out, a ship I love obviously changes, and I usually get frustrated when I play it and stop playing for a while, then come back to it. Recent being the Shimakaze. For whatever reason, I can't get a good game in it anymore, but the Yami I'm getting good games in now, like before the previous patch, I couldn't Citadel a damn thing. Now I'm having good games, but now the Shimmy that I loved is, not there. So I'm just wondering, is other people, when their ship gets changed, do they have sort of the same frustration, leave for a couple weeks and come back?
The frustration I had now is not about I had all tier 10s grinded up already, which is like already 2 months ago while the Master came out for the first week. And the most frustrating thing I would leave Warships is because the player base of skills, the skill gap between players are so huge right now. Like you have real new players in the team with real good players on the team. So what's happening is new players die, only good players are left. But how do you make it to win? So think. So both team had new players and good players. So it's all about how the new players die. If your new players die quicker than theirs, your team loses. It's basically this meta.
Yeah, but that's true kind of with all games.
Do you think that's a matchmaker elo issue, or is that just kind of the state of the...
it's more about player skills. It's more about player skills, positioning, like more about in-game stuffs already. Like it's already another thing that we can't control about. Like we have more and more players playing like 3,000 games, having 40-something or 50-something% win rate. And average damage of like probably 20k, something like War Beastie does.
No.
Do you think that really helps the game?
Do not invoke his name.
They probably put a lot of money keeping the game running because they're probably free XPing all the ships, but other than that, I don't think they're really helping the community much. Like, they're bringing down the average level of players, most likely, and making some players really frustrated, like the high tier good players.
Okay.
Where you kind of get stuck in the matchmaker where you have 10 losses in a row and you're the last ship every time.
Those are the days where I quit and I don't come back for 2 days or so, because it gets really old. You get, like you said, 10 losses in a row, and 9 times out of 10 you're the last person alive, and you're just like, this is bull jive. I'm gonna go play something else. If I'm gonna have to be numero uno or numero 2, I'm just gonna go do something else where I can actually carry better with that, because you can't be everywhere, especially if you're in like a battleship or something. You can't be everywhere on the map at all the time.
Or like you push in a battleship or something, and then your whole team is like behind you by 10 kilometers, and you're like, oh well.
Or my
and
favorite.
they turn around.
Yeah, my favorite is when it's like you and say 2 cruisers, and then the entire friendly team is off on the other flank, and you're like, oh, they'll be fine. And about 3.5 minutes go by, and all of them are dead. You're like, what happened?
I know that
Do
feeling.
cyclones inflict damage now? Is that what just occurred here?
No, it's the bull jive volcanoes that kill destroyers. But
That's right.
All right.
That's right.
Anybody else got anything different?
Bring back the Smith.
I have something that's it doesn't necessarily have to be part of the podcast, but I was wondering, has anyone thought about conducting a tournament of tier 10s?
Yes,
I will
we
be
have
against that
asked
though.
about that.
Hold on. Let's go. Let's see. Land warrior, you're at the top.
Yeah, we have asked about tier 10s, and we at Poseidon Syndicate, we are really interested in doing a tier 10 match. Like, I have guys asking constantly about, the scrims, like, can we bump it up to tier 10? And, since I'm the diplomat, I'm like, all right, let me go ask these guys. And usually, like 8 times out of 10, like, we will get a positive answer for tier 10s. But other than that,
Are you talking about for like future competitions there, kid?
We were thinking about conducting a tournament by OP Gaming, and we were thinking that maybe we should make it tier 10s. I just want to gauge the interest and how many clans would want to participate.
I'd want to, but I don't know how. We have a fair amount of guys who never put into tier 10 because they feel it's a waste still in this game. So
We're in the same boat.
Yeah, the last patch definitely
Same
helped with
here.
the credits, I find.
I would say this. I'd say that any tournament or competition, regardless of the tier, that somebody's willing to put the effort and time in to run, will get some sort of response and is worth doing, honestly.
I can agree with that because Fog has sponsored a few events, but there were like fun events. Like the first one was Alphas versus Betas, which was Alpha Walkies versus the Arkansas Betas. That was a fun one. And then we just had a death race event that we had during the holidays.
I mean, if it's even 3 teams, I'd be willing to participate. At this point, I'll take what I can get, right?
Right.
Apocalypse would definitely do tier 10.
Fifth Dimension, we'd have to see how many players have the time to do tier 10s. That's
Well,
the only thing.
That's fine. If you got tier 10s and you're interested, hit up Kid Next Door, and hopefully we'll see one of those tournaments come out, and we'll see what format Sterling's got. And I think one more comment. I think Kildare, you had something you want to say.
You were asking for new stuff that we hadn't touched on, and
Yep.
it's not probably totally new. I think it expands on something Kantai, Zakako, or Atago was saying. I don't know which one. It made sense to me. Look, first of all, when we drop into an open server that's a public game, and we have all different types of skill sets. I mean, whether it's Counter-Strike or whether it's any of the numerous gaming platforms we've played, you're going to have newer players and stronger players, and you're going to have frustration when you're on the weaker team. That's always going to be the case. But the ships, World of Warships, has a tier structure. And I think that allowing somebody who has not even leveled a tier 3 ship be able to buy a tier 8 ship is crazy. I think, let them, as far as making a tier 3 premium available as a money ship to help them to grind so that, they can, the guys that do not have as much time, but they're still putting the time in. I mean, not making the grind, a lot simpler, but, a little easier to attain a regular tier up in your ships and to get more ships is one thing. But, we get some guys that are new in the clan, and just like everybody else, because they want to participate in the community, they buy the ships. And, you have a guy that, he can't even turn his ship without figuring out where the enemy is, and he pops in an Atago. And that is something that I think adds to that level of frustration. So, I mean, if there was something new to come across, it would be to open up premium ships at certain increments. Like if you're new to the game, you can buy the tier 3s and 4s, and after you've gotten 1,000 games or your certain tier levels you've grinded up to, then maybe have like a 1 or 2 tier difference. But I think that might help some of the situations that we have.
Can I add in something on this one?
Go ahead.
I have to agree on that part, okay? For the fact that, let's say, any person could just jump it into Taco, okay? And then they get frustrated because they don't know how to play it, and they just spent $60 on the game. Or, let's say they jump into... I wouldn't say Isizuchi's that bad or anything. I think the tier 5s and below should be available for any new players with under 500 battles. Instantaneously, no problem. But after 500 battles, I would agree that the tier 8 should be available. Due to the fact that, and also let's say for special events, if somebody logs into a new account and a special event comes up, let's say, I don't know, the Turpits is back on sale and they really want to buy the Turpits and it's only for a limited time, then I would agree for them to buy it because it's only up for a limited time. But to buy, let's say, Natago instantaneously, to buy a Mikael instantaneously, right when you get into the game, and you're playing tier 8 suddenly, and you have no captain skills, you have nothing, you don't know how to play the game even, or even have had less than 300 battles, I mean, it frustrates you I think it probably frustrates the community. It frustrates the higher end players because they don't have the players that are experienced, and it frustrates the lower end players because they're getting killed. So
I agree. I think that the tier 5s and below would be, should be available, and the limited time ships. And to be honest, I think that's where we would run into a problem because for some reason, World of Warships, unlike World of Tanks, granted World of Tanks is starting to do it now. Oh, this is for sale for a limited time. It's a limited time, and they do it for everything. And it's just, so it would kind of make that whole idea moot because, again, everything's for limited time, and it's a pain in the ass because, a lot of times I won't have a check for a ship that I want. Luckily, somebody gifted me the Turpits as a wedding gift last year, so kudos to me. But
congratulations.
Thank you. But it kind of puts a damper on the entire idea because that's another thing that I would personally like to see. I think after every set of 100 battles, once you get 600 battles, you can get a tier 6 premium. 700 battles, tier 7, or even better, do it like because when you first start off, you can't get camouflage. And you don't even have a captain because your level's not high enough. And I think if they set, hey, at a certain level, you can purchase, at those levels, you can finally purchase premium ships that are, not necessarily limited.
Well, I
Well,
think
you're forgetting one thing. You guys are forgetting one thing with this, and we are looking at it from our perspective. I know I carry premium time, and I own just about every premium ship they have. But what they count on, what they need, those high tier ships, because the high tier ships are the money ships. So what they need is somebody like me or you to go, all right, hey buddy, we want you to play. I'm in this high. I'll tell you what, I'll buy you this ship, or if you buy this ship, you get this. And then that person doesn't like the game. Well, he's paid $50 to Wargaming. Wargaming doesn't care now if he stays or not necessarily, because if he's going to sit there and be that run-of-the-mill player who doesn't want to play premium time, just wants to log in and use their servers, well, they're not making any money off of that guy. But the guy who buys
I
it,
seriously doubt that that's like the huge proportion of it. But I took a note. We're gonna reach out to Quimo Pablos and ask him for some data on players who spend money and kind of what that demographic and breakdown looks like, and we'll try to put it back out to the group because I think it's an interesting comment, and I think we all have a lot of ideas about what that looks like. But I think in the near term, to address Kerry Zukaku's comment about high tier matchmaking, I think one of the near term fixes or mitigations for that is that you could increase division size. Honestly, it doesn't have to go full division, maybe 6, something like that. I think that's a near-term fix. But last comment, Lan.
Increasing the division would be nice, and also limiting the tier 8s for for certain battles allow them to buy that. But you got to realize Wargaming as a company, they're out to make money, and allowing a new account to buy that tier 8 premium, they're not going to say no to money. But what would be a nice implement is if somebody comes in, has a new account, they buy the tier 8 ship prime, okay, but they have to go through like a training tutorial, like before you use the ship. Like I know War Thunder does this. You have to go through training, like this is how you angle your ship, this is how you drive your ship. Caps are important. These kind of things, you need to know how to operate your ship in this kind of battle. I think that would be a better solution to it.
That's a fair point. And
Or
yes, Hale?
new players for training. Like a training course first thing.
Right. So I think Land's point on having a tutorial for brand new players, or if they buy a high tier ship, would be good. With that, I think we're gonna call it a night, and I just really want to thank everyone for taking the time out tonight and having this conversation with us. And stay tuned. We'll publish this shortly, and hopefully we'll get some good feedback. Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thanks for that.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for the invitation. Thank you.
Happy Game of Thrones to everybody.